I was pulling a rusted chest freezer out of my garage when the bottom panel cracked open and something slid across the concrete floor. A zippered pouch, wrapped tight in a black trash bag, taped so many times it looked like someone had been afraid of it. I'm 63 years old. I've been married to the same woman for 22 years. And in the time it took me to pick that pouch up off the ground, I understood that my retirement, my house, and everything I had spent a lifetime building was already halfway out the door. My name is Ray Callahan. I live in a quiet neighborhood outside Nashville, Tennessee. And what I'm about to tell you started the same way most disasters do, with something small, something kind, something I was doing for someone else. My wife Donna had been after me for months to clean out the garage, said we needed the space, said the old chest freezer her mother left us hadn't worked in 3 years, and it was just taking up room. She wasn't wrong. The thing was a relic, an avocado green Kenmore from the early 80s, the kind that weighed more than a pickup engine and took 2 men to move. I'd been putting it off since spring, but Donna was flying up to see her sister in Portland for a long weekend, and I figured it was as good a time as any to surprise her. Get the garage cleared, maybe hang some shelving, show her I still had it in me. That was all this was supposed to be, a small surprise. The kind of thing you do after 22 years, not because anyone asked, but because it's Tuesday and you love somebody. I got the old freezer moving around 9 in the morning, dragged it out with a furniture dolly, the kind with the rubber straps. My lower back was already talking to me by the time I got it to the driveway. I should have called my son-in-law, Marcus. He'd have been over in 20 minutes, but I didn't. That's on me. I tilted it to get it onto the dolly's plate, and something shifted inside. Not heavy, just a shift, a soft kind of sliding sound, the kind that doesn't fit what you expect from an empty appliance. I figured it was just the compressor coil rattling loose after years of sitting dead. I kept moving. Then the corner of the freezer caught the lip of the garage threshold wrong, and the whole thing tipped. I jumped back. It hit the concrete with a flat crack, and the bottom access panel, the one held on by 2 rusted screws I never touched, split right off. And something slid out. A black trash bag, wrapped around something firm, bound up with so much clear tape it had gone yellow. It came to rest against the toe of my work boot. I stood there in the driveway for a long moment. The Tennessee morning was already warm. Cicadas going in the tree line at the edge of the yard. A neighbor's sprinkler clicking somewhere down the block. Everything normal. Everything outside was just a regular Thursday morning in July. I picked it up. It was heavier than it looked. I peeled back the layers, slow, the tape giving in little strips. Inside the bag was a black nylon pouch with a zipper, the kind you'd use for a passport. I unzipped it, and my hands went cold. Cash. Bundled, not banded. 50s and hundreds, rubber banded into loose stacks. I didn't count it then, didn't need to. There was enough to know this wasn't forgotten vacation money. There was a folded piece of paper underneath it, and below that, a prepaid cell phone, a slim bar phone, the kind that barely runs apps. No case, no scratches, barely used. I set the pouch on the hood of my truck and unfolded the paper. It was typed, single-spaced. The header at the top said one word, schedule, and the first name listed under it was mine. I want you to picture something. A man in his 60s, standing in his driveway on a summer morning, holding a piece of paper with his own name at the top of a document he has never seen. A document that lives inside a dead freezer that his wife asked him to get rid of. I read the first line. Confirm deed transfer timeline. Target window, 45 days. I read it again. Then I stood very still for a long time. I've been in construction my whole career, 38 years as a general contractor. I've read contracts, change orders, subrogation clauses, lien waivers. I know what a schedule looks like. I know what a target window means. And I knew before, my brain could argue with me that what I was reading was not random. This was a plan. My name was in it. And my wife was the one who told me to throw this freezer away. I went back inside. I didn't bring the pouch in right away. I just went to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and stood at the sink. The ceiling fan, above the table, spun slow. Donna's reading glasses were folded on the counter beside her notepad. Normal. All of it looked completely normal. I went back out, brought the pouch in, and sat at the kitchen table. I opened the prepaid phone. No pin. No lock screen at all. Home screen with 4 icons. Calls, messages, notes, and a calculator. That's when the weight of it hit me. Because a phone with no lock screen means whoever used it never once thought someone else would be holding it. I tapped messages. One thread. Contact saved as 2 letters, TP. Most recent message. From that morning. From TP. Everything on track? She confirmed the 45-day window. From the number I recognized as Donna's cell, yes, he leaves it alone. Always has. He leaves it alone. That was me. That was how she described me to whoever TP was. I set the phone down on the table and breathed for a moment. I scrolled back further. From Donna, 3 weeks ago. He asked about the refinance paperwork. I told him it was just preliminary. He said okay. From TP, good. Don't let him read anything closely. Keep it conversational. From Donna, I know how he is. He trusts me. I know how he is. In 22 years, your wife learns how you are. You learn how she is. That's what marriage is. That's the whole thing. You become readable to each other. And she had been reading me like a map she was handing to someone else. I looked at the typed schedule again. The dates lined up. 3 months of them. Items like, introduce broker concept casually, bring up equity review, have R sign preliminary assessment. R was me. Raymond. R. There was a section at the bottom I had to read twice. Quit claim deed. Require only 1 signature if refinanced under sole occupancy clause. Confirm with T. Then below that, once title clear, proceed to account consolidation. Timeline. 30 days. Post-signature. I am a contractor. I have built houses from the ground up. I know what a quitclaim deed does. I know what sole occupancy means. I know exactly what those 2 things, combined, would do to my name on the title of the house I have lived in for 18 years. I closed the paper. I put it face down. I stood up, walked to the hallway, and opened the door to the small office we keep off the 2nd bedroom. Filing cabinet, bottom drawer, my files, my system. I'd organized it 12 years ago. Mortgage documents, tax returns, property insurance, vehicle titles. I flipped to the hanging folder that said house. The original deed was there. Our joint mortgage was there. But behind them, in a manila envelope I did not put there, was a document I had never seen. A preliminary refinance assessment, issued 7 weeks ago. 2 pages. My name was on the signature line at the bottom of page 2, with a signature I did not write. I closed the drawer very slowly. I walked back to the kitchen and sat down. I looked at the phone again. I looked at the schedule. I looked at the cash. And then I did something that surprised even me. I picked up the prepaid phone, I went to the Notes app, and I started taking photographs of every single message thread with my own cell phone. Every one. Then I went back to the filing cabinet and photographed both pages of that refinance document. I took photos of the forged signature close up. I dated and time-stamped every image. I didn't know yet what I was going to do, but I knew enough to understand that whatever this was, it was still moving. It had a 45-day window, and I had just walked into the middle of it. Now, I want to say something to you here, because if you're a husband or a wife of a certain age, and you've been letting the other person handle most of the finances because it's easier, because you trust them, because that's just how it evolved, please hear what I'm about to say. I had been trusting Donna with our finances for 9 years, not because I was lazy, because she was better at it. She'd worked in property management for 15 years before she retired. She understood escrow and depreciation schedules better than I did. So I stepped back, and I let her lead, and I told myself that was what a good partnership looked like. I was not wrong to trust her, but I was wrong to stop looking. There's a difference, and one of them costs you everything. I sat at that table for a long time. The morning moved around me. At some point, I realized I was hungry and that I hadn't eaten. I made toast, ate it standing at the counter, washed the plate, put it away. My hands weren't shaking. That surprised me. Then I picked up my own phone and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in about 8 months, Dennis Hargrove. We'd worked together on a commercial development project in the mid-2000s. Dennis had spent 23 years as a title attorney before he went into private real estate law, retired now. Lives over in Brentwood with too many dogs and a vegetable garden he talks about like it's a 3rd child, but his mind is as sharp as it ever was. He picked up on the second ring. "Ray, you okay?" I almost said yes. The word was right there, automatic, like a reflex. "No, Dennis," I said. "I need to talk to you about something I just found." There was a short pause, not dramatic, Just the pause of a man who has spent decades hearing the beginning of complicated problems and already knows to slow down before responding. Talk, he said. So I told him. I kept it clean and factual. The freezer, the pouch, the cash, the phone, the schedule, the refinance document, with a signature that wasn't mine. He let me get through all of it without interrupting once. When I finished, there was a silence on his end that lasted maybe 4 full seconds. Ray, he said, that signature on the refinance assessment, describe it to me. I opened the photo on my phone and described it. Another pause. That's a fraudulent instrument. If it went anywhere, it went to a lender, which means there may already be a lender inquiry against your property without your knowledge. Can they do that? Someone is trying to, he said. How long until Donna's back? Saturday. Okay. You need to do 2 things before she lands. First, you call your county recorder's office first thing tomorrow and request a title search on your home address. Ask specifically about any pending instruments filed in the last 90 days. Second, you call your credit union and ask, casually, if there are any pending applications connected to your property. And then you call me back. He paused again. Ray, don't confront her yet. I know every part of you wants to, but if you confront her now, that phone disappears. That pouch disappears. The schedule disappears. You become the paranoid husband who found something in a freezer, and she walks out with everything still in motion. I sat with that for a moment. What is TP? I asked him. Say that again? The contact in the phone, saved as TP, 2 letters. Dennis was quiet. Do the messages mention anything about property brokerage? Investment management? A business name? I scrolled back through the thread. Found one message near the bottom. 3 months ago. From TP, I'll have the new LLC documents ready by the end of the month. Once the property transfers, we fold it into the holding entity, and she's clear. I read that to Dennis. He exhaled, slow and long. Ray, TP isn't having an affair with your wife. Or if he is, that's secondary. What you're looking at is a coordinated property transfer through a shell entity. That's not a marital spat. That's fraud. I closed my eyes. At 63, I said, what does that leave me with? If it completes, he paused. You'd be a tenant in a house you built the equity on, and the title would be held by an LLC with your wife's name nowhere visible on it. I opened my eyes and looked around my kitchen. The pine cabinets I'd installed myself in 2009. The back door I'd reframed after the storm in 2016. The tile floor I'd laid on my hands and knees over a long Labor Day weekend. What do I do? I asked. You watch, Dennis said. You document everything you haven't documented yet, and tomorrow morning you call a family law attorney. A real one, not a referral from a friend. Someone who handles asset fraud in domestic cases. I know someone. Her name is Patricia Osei. She's in Franklin. I'll text you her number. We hung up. The house was quiet, mid-morning sun coming through the back windows. I picked up the zippered pouch and carried it to my bedroom closet. Back corner, behind a box of my late father's things I've never had the heart to sort through. I put the pouch inside the box and covered it with an old flannel shirt. Then I went back to the garage and finished moving the freezer to the curb. Because that's what you do when you're trying not to show your hand. You finish the job you started. You act like the man she expects you to be. That night, I cooked dinner for one and watched the news and went to bed at the same time I always do. I lay on my back staring at the ceiling fan I'd wired in 11 years ago. The same ceiling fan I've stared at on every sleepless night since. The bedroom smelled like it always did. Donna's shampoo still on the pillow next to mine. I didn't sleep. Around 2 in the morning, I got up and went back to the phone. I hadn't read the Notes app yet. I opened it. There was a single note, titled Exit. Below the title, a numbered list, 12 steps, detailed, sequenced, dated. Step 7 was, remove secondary valuables from shared spaces prior to transfer completion. Step 9, cancel joint accounts within 72 hours of title recording. Step 12, do not initiate divorce until assets are clear. Leverage, he will not expect it. Leverage, that word, right there in a Notes app on a prepaid phone hidden inside a dead chest freezer. She hadn't just been planning to leave me. She had been planning to leave me with nothing, and she'd built the plan around the fact that I would never look. He will not expect it. I set the phone down, sat at the kitchen table in the dark for a long time, and then I noticed something I'd missed earlier. At the very top of the exit note, above the numbered list, there was a single line in smaller text, almost a label. Phase 2 resume. Phase 2. Resume. That word hit me differently than the others. Because resume doesn't mean start. Resume means you stopped and started again. Resume means there was a phase 1. And somewhere before this, before our 22 years, or maybe inside them, this had existed before. I called Dennis at 7 the next morning. I read him the note. When I got to resume, he went quiet. "Ray," he said carefully, "do you know how you met Donna?" "Through a friend," I said. "A guy I used to work with. Neil something. We lost touch." "What was his last name?" I thought about it. "Patterson," I said. "Neil Patterson." There was a pause on Dennis's end. Just a breath. Just enough. "TP," I said quietly. Neither of us spoke for a moment. "This wasn't opportunistic," Dennis said finally. "This was designed. A long time ago." I sat with that. I want you to sit with that too, for just a moment. 22 years, a marriage, a house, a life. And somewhere underneath it, a design. Not an impulse, not a mistake, a design with phases. I called Patricia Osei's office when they opened at 8:30. I had an appointment by 9. She was calm, precise, and moved like someone who had seen exactly this before and knew exactly where the pressure points were. I laid everything out on her desk, the photographs on my phone, the schedule, the exit note, the fraudulent signature. She reviewed them without expression. "The forged signature is your strongest instrument," she said. "That's a criminal matter, separate from the civil divorce. We file a fraud alert on the property title today. That stops any transfer or recording, effective immediately. They will not be able to move the title. What about the LLC? We pull it. If it's been filed, it's public record. We find it, we name it, we freeze it." She looked up at me. "Mr. Callahan, do you want to know how long this has been in motion?" "I think I already know," I said. She nodded slowly. "When your wife comes home Saturday, I want you to let her walk in. Let her act normal. Let her go through whatever her next step is. Don't change anything. And I want you to call me the moment she mentions the refinance, the broker, or any next step in that schedule." Donna landed Saturday afternoon. I was in the kitchen when I heard her car in the driveway. Same little pause before she cut the engine, the same way she's done it for years. Some habits don't lie, even when everything else does. She came in through the side door, rolling her carry-on. She looked rested. Portland agreed with her, apparently. "Ray," she smiled, came over and kissed my cheek. Light, automatic, familiar. "Good trip?" I asked. "Long," she said. "Janet talks too much. You know how she is." I nodded. "Sounds about right." She looked past me toward the hallway. "You got the garage cleared?" "Got the freezer out," I said. "Did some shelving. Looks better in there." Something moved across her face. The smallest shift. Relief, maybe, dressed up as casual interest. "Good," she said. "That thing needed to go. We had dinner that night. Pasta. I'd made enough for 2. She ate well and talked about her sister and told a story about a restaurant in the Pearl District. I listened and asked questions in the right places. I passed her the salt before she asked. I refilled her water. I was the husband she had spent months describing to someone else as predictable and easy to manage. And I never once let my eyes go somewhere she wasn't expecting. After dinner, she poured herself a glass of wine and brought it to the living room. I was washing up at the sink, heard her phone buzz twice. Then again, "Oh," she called in. "I forgot to mention. You remember I told you about getting our equity reviewed? I may have connected with someone at the Portland conference. A property consultant. He works with a lot of people our age." "That right?" I said. "He's actually going to be in Nashville next week. Thought maybe the 3 of us could sit down. Just a conversation. No pressure." "Sure," I said. "What's his name?" A pause. Just a beat. "Thomas," she said. "Thomas Pruitt. TP." "Sure," I said again. "Set it up." She did. Wednesday, 10 o'clock. A private conference room at a title company's office downtown, which told me immediately that this meeting had been planned before Portland, because you don't book a title company's conference room for a casual first conversation. I called Patricia that night. "We're a go for Wednesday," I told her. She didn't say much. Just, "Don't say a single word more than we rehearsed. Not one. I'll be there." Wednesday morning I woke up at 5. Lay there listening to the house for a long time. Donna asleep beside me, breathing slow. 22 years of listening to her breathe. I thought about what it means to share a life with somebody. Really share it. Not just the house and the accounts and the calendar, but the private language you build. The way she always folds a dish towel in thirds. The way she hums when she's distracted. The way she squeezes my hand twice whenever the plane hits turbulence. All of that was real. Whatever else was true, that was real. And so was the exit note on a prepaid phone wrapped in a trash bag inside a dead freezer. We drove downtown together. She looked calm. I looked like a man who had forgotten to be nervous. Thomas Pruitt was already in the conference room when we arrived, mid-50s, silver hair, pressed blazer, the kind of warm handshake that closes deals. He stood up when we walked in. "Ray," he said, "great to finally meet you in person." "Finally." I shook his hand. "Likewise, Thomas." He turned to Donna. "Donna," he said her name like he'd said it hundreds of times. We sat down. He opened his portfolio, started talking about equity extraction strategies, market timing, the value of moving assets into protective structures before any market correction. Donna nodded along, adding small supportive comments exactly where the script called for them. I had read that script. I knew every beat. He slid a folder across to me. "Clean, professional, heavy paper stock. Just preliminary figures, Ray. We can walk through it at whatever pace you need." I put my hand flat on top of the folder, left it there, didn't open it. Then I reached into my jacket and set the prepaid phone on the table between us. The room didn't get loud. It got still. The specific kind of still that happens when people realize a room has changed. Donna's eyes went to the phone, then to me. "Ray, what is that?" Her voice was steady. "I'll give her that. Not a crack in it." I reached into my other pocket and put the folded schedule on the table next to the phone, smoothed it open. "I found it," I said, when the freezer fell. She looked at the schedule. Her face didn't break. It calculated. 22 years, and I was watching her calculate. Thomas shifted in his chair, started to speak. "Mr. Callahan, I think there may be some—" "Mr. Pruitt." I said his name the same way he'd said mine. Even quiet. The Notes app has 12 steps. I've photographed all of them. The forged signature on the refinance assessment has already been reported to the Williamson County Recorder. The title freeze went through Tuesday morning. His eyes moved, just once. From the phone to the schedule to my face. I kept going. "The LLC was filed 6 weeks ago. We found it. It's been flagged." I paused. "We can keep going if you'd like." Right on time, the door opened. Patricia Osei walked in. Black blazer, slim briefcase. The kind of calm that doesn't need to announce itself. "Mr. Pruitt?" She set a folder on her side of the table. "I'm Patricia Osei. I represent Mr. Callahan. We'd like to discuss deed fraud, forgery of a notarized instrument, and the coordination of asset transfer in violation of marital property law." She sat down. "We can do that here, or we can do it in front of a judge in Davidson County. Your preference." Thomas Pruitt stood up. His posture had cracked somewhere between my second sentence and hers. Not all the way, just a seam. "I think this conversation is over," he said. "That's your right," Patricia said. "But this matter isn't going to be." He picked up his portfolio and walked out. Didn't look at Donna, didn't say a word to her. She watched him go. Just for a moment. Something moved across her face, something I hadn't seen in a long time. Not guilt, closer to grief. Then she turned back to me. "You knew," she said. "You knew the whole time I was home." I knew. She looked down at the table for a moment. Then, "How long did you wait before you started documenting?" "About 45 minutes, I said. She almost laughed. Not meanly. Just something that recognized something. "That's very you," she said quietly. I nodded. "I know how I am." She heard it, the echo of her own words. She didn't flinch from it. I respected that, in a strange way. She had the dignity to hear it and not pretend. "What happens now?" she asked. "Everything stops," I said. "Every transfer, every application, every step on that schedule. It stops today. Patricia will walk you through what comes next." She nodded once, picked up her bag, and she walked out of that room without looking back. I sat there for a moment after she left. The folder, with his preliminary figures still face down on the table where I'd left it. Patricia was writing something. The air conditioner hummed. I thought about the exit note. Step 12. Do not initiate divorce until assets are clear. Leverage. He will not expect it. He will not expect it. I picked up the unopened folder and set it on top of my own documents. Then I stood up, straightened my jacket, and shook Patricia's hand. Because I had expected it, and that had made all the difference. The house has been quiet since then. A different kind of quiet, not empty, just settled. I finished the garage shelving, fixed a gutter that had been pulling away from the eave since March. Small jobs. The kind that remind you a house is just a thing you maintain. It doesn't hold you or betray you. People do. I want to talk to you directly now, friend to friend. Because this story, as specific as it sounds, is not unusual. It is happening quietly in houses all over this country, and the people it happens to are not careless or foolish. They are people who loved someone and stopped asking questions because love taught them not to need to. Here is what I want you to hear. If your spouse has handled most of the finances for years, that's not a character flaw in you. But you owe yourself this. Once a year, sit down together and go through everything. Every account, every title, every pending application, not because you're suspicious, because you're partners. Because transparency isn't surveillance, it's respect. If you own a home with someone, pull your property title from your county recorder's office. It costs less than $20 in most states. Look at it. Make sure your name is still exactly where it belongs. If anything looks added or changed, ask out loud. If you're over 50 and your name is on a signature line you don't remember signing, stop. Take a photo of it. Call an attorney before you do anything else. Do not confront first. Document first. The AARP reports that financial exploitation of people over 50 is one of the fastest growing forms of fraud in the country. Most of it doesn't come from strangers. Most of it comes from people with access. People who know how you are. So here's the one thing I want you to do before you go to sleep tonight. Open your phone and pull up your most recent bank statement. Not the summary, the actual line items. Read every single one. If anything doesn't match what you remember agreeing to, you are allowed to ask about it. You are not being paranoid. You are being awake. And ask yourself this question honestly. If something happened to me tomorrow, would I know where everything stands? The accounts, the title, the beneficiaries, the investments? If you don't know the answer, that's the answer. Before I let you go, I want to hear from you. Comment 1 if you think I handled this the right way. Comment 2 if you think Donna deserved a chance to explain herself before the attorney walked in. Comment 3 if something in your own life, your own finances, your own home has ever felt slightly off, and you pushed it down because it was easier than asking. Drop your number below, and tell me where you're watching from. Your city, your state, your country, and what time it is right now. I read every single one of these. There is something about knowing a man in Ohio is listening to this at midnight, or a woman in Georgia is hearing this on her lunch break, that makes telling these stories feel like exactly the right thing to do. If this moved you at all, take 1 second and hit the like button. It tells the algorithm to put this story in front of someone who needs to hear it tonight. Maybe a man who's about to clean out his garage. Maybe a woman who's about to make a choice she can't take back. Either way, someone out there needs this tonight. Subscribe and hit the bell. Every week I bring you stories like this one, real human stories about trust, and the quiet ways it breaks, and the quieter ways people find their footing again. One last thing. This is a work of fiction, inspired by real patterns of financial fraud and property-related elder abuse documented across the United States. Names, characters, and specific details are entirely my own, but the mechanics, the forged instruments, the shell entities, the quitclaim schemes, those are drawn from real case patterns reported by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and state-level elder fraud task forces. If anything in this story felt too familiar, please reach out to a licensed attorney, your state's Adult Protective Services, or the CFPB at consumerfinance.gov. You are not alone. And remember, sometimes the truth doesn't announce itself. Sometimes it's just a soft shift inside something you thought was empty, sliding out across the floor at your feet on an ordinary Thursday morning. Pay attention, stay steady, and I'll see you in the next one.